And so I make a point of doing it.
Amen. Amen.
And I just wanted to say thanks to my dad.
And we can tell by the way your children respond to you that you are a good father, and we're happy about that. and we appreciate taking that.
Oh, there you go.
In response to what you said there, Stephen, though, it has, I've heard it more than, I guess, than once, and I have said it about 3 or 4 times. Brad brought this up here about this is how he does things, how things were great around here about him. And I have never came up here or even while I've gone away has he ever died out of my memory.
That's right.
And I guess I'd like to take time to say this right now to everybody, because I didn't get to come to the memorial services and all, but he was like a father to me, and I was like a son to him. And I never got to be with you guys that much, but it was sort of made me sort of like the voice of him, and because he treated me like his own son.
And as a result, we treated you like some folks.
Right. Right, and I felt like
Brother,
like part of the family.
Brother John?
And, I always felt like this has been part of my family. This is more part of my family than my own real family. So, my family's not real close, and this is I feel closer to. But I have heard a lot of people mention Lewis, and since we've been here.
Well, I wanted to make sure everybody was at one time.
That's good. And we love you too, John.
Yeah, I kept going on and on in my mind this morning. I kept thinking, wow, I have to say something nice. And I had this really neat thing that I forgot. It was in the middle of a dream somewhere, but it was really nice. And I thought, boy, that would sound so great if I said that about my dad in front of everyone,
Absolutely.
We were all together, but
He was the power.
yeah, it was a tremendous influence on me.
Yeah, but you were his energy too.
Yeah.
For being such a quiet man, he had quite a good influence.
I had already mentioned to Mother that I'd like for her to either write it down or put names on things or let us know. I'm not looking for her, she's going to live another 50 years, no big deal, but I would like, as the executor of her estate, I would like to be able to know the things that she wants to go to certain kids. If it's a special thing to that kid, I'd like to be able to, that gets done. So if you have something special that you want, why don't you let her know so she can write it down for you?
Yeah, that would help.
If there's something that you really, really want bad to have as a keepsake.
I can put it down on a piece of paper and keep track of it, and that way I'll know who wants what.
Just don't put no name on my.
Well, I just want Mama around forever.
Well, I mean, obviously.
That shit says yours, otherwise I would have fit you for it.
I know it.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'm glad he made it for me too. Yeah, no, I got it.
There's no telling what will happen at that particular time, but I feel like that God gave us this house, and that He gave it to us to use for His glory. And so far it has been used for His glory and helped many, many sick and hungry and helpless and homeless people. And people who were just distressed have come here and found rest. And almost every stranger that has come in this door have looked around and they say, oh, this is so homey, or it's so peaceful here. And I said, because the Spirit of God is here. He gave us this house to use for His glory. And so whatever happens, I want this house, as long as it stands, to be used for God's glory, whoever lives in it. Okay?
That would be Lewis's will too.
And so, I don't know. We'll just have to wait till the time comes. But I am going to rewrite my will and get, kind of put my thoughts down so that you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt how I feel about it. Okay? And I will announce to all of you that I will have my cremation totally paid for by cashing in my life insurance policy that John sold me in 1965.
He sold me mine too, but I already cashed mine.
And I found out
We still have ours.
I found out that if I cashed that in, it would cover a little more than the cost of the cremation. And they said this is in the form of a trust deed, and of course they will put it up for interest, and the interest payments will more than compensate for any rise in any inflation in prices. you know, if I live another 10 or 15 or 20 years and prices go up, my cremation is still paid for in full, and they will never add another dime to it. So that sounded like a good deal to me, and I feel like the Lord led me to do that.
I don't think anyone's worried about that.
Well, Delise was worrying about it because she's the one that would have to go send the insurance policy and, you know, and get the money and all that stuff. So this is the easiest way to handle that. And I really do think we need to be realistic about things like that, because no one expects to die, but all of us will eventually, unless the Lord comes first. So, anyway.
Somebody
Anyone
brought up
else have
something.
anything to say?
I negotiated this one, kicked it off with getting jailed and then start prodding everybody about a family reunion. But I think you guys ought to think about not waiting for a funeral or something to get back together again. I think you ought to sort of have a time, let's get back together in so many years or whatever you decide you want to do.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, before you leave tonight,
That's okay.
I mean, a general idea what you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Because it's neat, you know, and to see everybody, I'd like to comment what I said to Mary too. It's been so neat to see that everybody hasn't fought, nobody has got into a fight or got their feelings hurt or misunderstood somebody here, and it's been so peaceful.
One happy
There's been a lot of
And
love.
it has, it's been harmony the whole
around.
time.
It's neat to see that,
Yeah.
especially among so many brothers and sisters.
Well, actually, I think we've managed awfully well. We've had total cooperation from everybody, and it's been a happy time. And I'm just kind of sorry that we're breaking up, fixing to leave. A lot of people said
What I
that.
enjoyed seeing was our kids. They haven't
Yeah,
seen each other
that
for
was the most-
13 years.
That's the best part.
I mean, it was
That's
like they had
Like they
been around each other, you know, week after week.
Yeah, LW and Michael really got along. Louis, Michael.
Yeah,
They all
Louis-
did.
Louis and Michael.
Even, you know, not just the boys with the boys and the girls with the girls, but all of them just together,
Yeah.
you know. I know Michael and Lewis kept, they were all last night.
Yeah.
That's a real quiet guy, Mary.
Till about 3
And not
o'clock
only
this
that-
morning.
Not
That's
only
a real
that, but the
quiet
newest
guy.
addition to the Cobb clan, Kevin.
Kevin, he's up with all this, that's amazing.
He's just, whoa.
He fits in.
That was there, good shot.
See, he's been in our house, so
He fits in just exactly like that. He's been with us always, don't you, Kevin?
That's right.
Yeah, but the question is, will he do it again?
Yes, he will. I'll be here.
As soon as I found out he liked baseball, I immediately fell in love with him.
All right.
He likes all kinds of sports.
Oh, yeah,
He just roots for the wrong
He's a
team, that's all.
sports fan.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're in the same division.
Okay, Rodney, do you have a few choice words to say? Like a few thousand words?
Condense it into one page.
Well, it just, I had a chance to select meet Melanie and Lewis, and since they've become adults, and I didn't have anything to do with it, but I'm real pleased that all the kids they're growing up, and
Yep, looking good.
There's a lot of times, I mean, we may not write or call or whatever, but we do think about the family and different problems that they have and we hear about it. After Daddy died, for about a year and a half or so, it was a little hard for me. We had tried so hard to get up here that day, and we drove right past Klamath Glen and went straight to the hospital, and because we thought he was still there. And we had to turn around and drive all the way back. And for a long time I was upset with myself for not being able to be there, at least before he died. But I think about it.
In my dreams, he's still alive. I have dreams regularly, weekly. I'd say at least 2 or 3 times a week, but my dad's still alive.
That's right.
We're still doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Plus when you see his kids.
You know, I saw a little one-liner, and it says, "Death is but a comma in the sentence of life," because actually, it's a transition. When a person leaves this world, they immediately are in the presence of God, and they do not experience pain. And all of those songs that we used to sing about, crossing Jordan and all of that stuff. You know that song about I won't have to cross Jordan alone, and
I don't know about that, but I
Things
remember
like
on
that.
Jordan Stormy Banks.
yeah. But I want to share this much with you too. It's the fact that I have found out. In fact, just recently I listened to Jack Taylor on a tape that I have, and he was talking about a terrible experience that he went through when he had to have 3 operations instead of 1 for a heart bypass. And he said it was not until after the 3rd one that he began to realize what God had really given him in spiritual surgery. And he said that it is only through deep and terrible suffering that we see the glory of God. And you know, when Lewis lost his eyesight, and I said that he gave me that song, "He hideth my soul," and then I looked it up in the Bible. Moses had come down from the mountain after great communion with God, and he found those people dancing before a golden calf, and you know that just broke his heart. He was totally devastated. And he said, and God said, "I'm going to destroy the whole bunch and start all over with you." And he said, "No, you can't do that." And Moses began to plead for those people in spite of their sins. He prayed for them because of their sins. And he said, "If you're going to wipe them out, you've got to kill me too." And then he said, "God, I want to see your glory." And God said, "No man," I don't know. No, he said, "I want to see your face." And he said, "No man can see my face
And live.
and live." But he said, "I will put you in the cleft of a rock, and I will cover you with my hand, and you will see my glory as I pass by." And he did. There was a gentle wind, and then he saw the glory of God. Well, my sister, Mabel, was the most precious thing in the world to me. I love my father and I love my mother, but my sister was 3 years older than me. And in 1932, she had pneumonia. She was in the hospital. And I went up there, and as I stood by her bed, she whispered, and I leaned over and she said, "Mary, look at the angels. Mary, look at the angels." And I was just heartbroken. And I remember kneeling down by the window there in the hospital and crying, "Oh God, take me. Take me. Don't take my sister." Because she was beautiful, she was good, she was kind. And I just couldn't see any way in the world that she needed to die, that it would be better for me to die than for her. But of course, it didn't happen like that. And I got up and went and stood at the foot of her bed, my father on one side and my mother on the other side. Her husband was up at the head of the bed, and his mother was on the other side. And as we stood there and we watched her, there was a tiny little light up over her head. As she took her last breath, and we could feel the presence of God there, all of a sudden there was the most awesome flash of light. And we were just stunned. We didn't say anything. And after we got home, I said something. My mother said, Did you see anything unusual when Mabel died?" And I said, "Oh yes, did you see it?" And she said, "Yes, your father and I were talking about it, and we saw the light. We saw the glory of God, and we didn't know whether you saw it or not." And I said, "Yes, I did." And then about a month or 2 later, I asked her husband, and he said, "No, I didn't see anything." And so you see, God shows his glory to those who are closest to him and who have gone through great trial. When you have gone through a great trial and you have been obedient to God and you have stayed on the Lord, that's when you see the glory. Not when everything is fine and not when everything is beautiful. And I'm sure that LW can say the same thing when Renee died, right?
It was something very similar to that. It's, I don't know. It wasn't near that dramatic, but it was, for me, a very real event. And I knew right then that was it. There wasn't any the nurse wanted. I said, forget it. It was, but there had been that. Maybe it was inner illumination, or maybe I had a hallucination. I don't think so, really. But it was a mind-shaking event that took place at that time. We had been next door in the empty room praying. Then we went back into the room. And Marie was, I'm not sure where she was in the room. I know I was on the right-hand side of the bed when I saw her last breath, and I had this period of time that I wasn't really aware of what was going on for. It seemed like a long time. It must not have been more than a fraction of a second. And I was trying to relate what I experienced with what was going on, and it didn't relate. So I said, well, I'll try a little mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And that was, as soon as I touched her, I knew. I said, she's gone. And Marie came to bed then. And the nurse sort of wandered in, and she panicked. They went into that code blue thing. At that point, we told them, this is already over. It took place a while ago. Get it?
Well, the point...
There's a reality there that occurs, an understanding of a reality that occurs at that point that you don't seem to be experiencing at the time.
LW, I believe that I know why God does that. Because, you know, it was such a bitter, traumatic experience for my father and my mother and me that God showed his glory to show us he loved us and he cared, and he erased the memory of the bad part and left the memory of his glory. And so that was a special blessing that we received in order to go through the experience of losing that loved one.
I haven't lost anyone, but I have to give God, really praise the Lord and give him all the glory for restoring both Twyla's life and John's life. At times I've gone to the wall with both of them and felt that there was no hope and there was no answer, and the Lord has given me back both of their lives.
Amen.
And I have to really praise him for that, and I really have to give him glory.
Amen.
Well, I'll tell you, when I came out of that that second surgery, I don't remember the first one, but the second one, I came out and I woke up, and there was my assistant pastor standing there and my son. And I seen Curtis first. And then I seen my assistant pastor, he was standing with a Bible, holding the Bible like this, waiting for me when he came out. And I testified this in front of the church, that I thought that was my archangel. I thought he was my angel. that was standing there. I thought I had already, you know, been done and gone. Because when I went into pain, that first time it was so severe, I passed out from the pain. You know, I really felt I never had such severe pain. I take a lot of pain. I have a high pain threshold. And when I went into the surgery, I remember the last thing I seen was the doctor and after that. But that was so neat to be able to come out, and the most outstanding thing in my life that stands so vivid was seeing my son and my pastor both standing side by side. And as you guys, I don't know, we haven't said too much about Curtis since we've been here, but he's been dedicated to the Mexican population in Yuma. It's a little town halfway between the Mexican border and Yuma. And Curtis has been, he just gave up everything he had in Christ. And you want to talk about walking out on faith, folks. That boy walked out on faith. He walked out with nothing, going to nothing, had nothing. Got there and wondered what he was going to do. He started, he lived with the people a couple of days, and then he went to work for Kentucky Fried Chicken to do some work. He didn't get a job. And he taught his family how to depend upon God. And they delivered groceries to his doorstep. You know how you get care packages, you get a lot of stuff you don't need? Everything was right down to the thing.
They had made a list before this grocery sack came. They had made a list of things they needed, and they didn't have a dime to go buy groceries. And when somebody from the church came and dropped off a box of food, and it was everything on the list. Everything on the list.
So, and it was so neat. I would be sitting there at the table, and all of a sudden that day he had popped up in my mind 2 or 3 times already. And it was just like, his presence was so, he was just there. It was just a heavy, I don't know how to explain it, there's no words to put on it. But I just know that God was saying, listen to me, Curtis needs you. Listen to me, Curtis needs you. And I just looked up at Dee, I said, Curtis needs us, Dee. She says, what are you saying? I said, I don't know, but he's in trouble and he needs us some help. She said, what are you going to do? I said, give him a checkbook. So I just started writing checks out to him and send them to him. And he'd get a phone call back, and he'd be crying on the phone and say, Dad, how'd you know? How did you know? I said, God told me. Don't worry about it. That's a good direct line between us. So between you, and I'd send a little note in there for my favorite missionary. And mail it to him. And send it to him. And it's so neat to see him walk out on faith now.
The other thing is that we felt impressed to give him a gas card, a gas credit card, because they were struggling so hard. He wasn't making very much money, and she couldn't get a job, and they were having a real hard time just feeding their family. And so we told them they could use our Texaco gas credit card. And he took that, and he was very a good steward with it. He never went, you know, over what he, you know, he didn't just run out and spend money.
Didn't take trips he didn't
He
need.
didn't take trips he didn't need, and they used it wisely. We never had a bill of $100 a month. But he told me, he says, Mother, do you know that the Lord showed me by that gas credit card? Do you remember the widow of Schumann that Elisha stayed with, and she had a cruse of oil and a barrel of flour, and how that never ran out? He said, Mother, that gas credit card was God's gift to us, because he said it was always there. When we didn't use it unless we had to have it, but if we were desperate and we needed gas and we had to go to church or we had to go to work, we could get that credit card out and go get gas, and it never ran out. He said it was God's endless supply to us, and that was so special to him. And it was, to us, it was just, we're just wanting to help our kid, you know.
Yeah. It's funny how God takes care of you that way. He took care of us going to Yuma that time. We pulled that trailer in that van, right at the top of that grapevine. And it was cold, and I was tired, and I'd worked that day, and I was sleeping. I pulled it over, and I said, Dee, I gotta sleep. He said, give me at least an hour or 2 sleep here, and we'll go. So we got it. I went and crawled over there and went to sleep. And I slept until I got so uncomfortable, cold, I couldn't stand it. And I got up and I said, let's go. So we started down that hill, and it started snowing. And I mean, it started coming down good. And we was pulling that trailer going down that hill, and they had already shut the traffic off. And let me tell you something, the only thing I can say is that God put an angel on each one of those fenders and said, let's go, boy, and brought me down that hill.
Amen.
And it just came down just as perfect and pretty as you please. No problem with it. But you know, I couldn't have done that without God's angels being up there. I firmly believe He had them there.
It just dawned on me that we need to pray for Lillian and Jonathan for a home.
Yes.
And we have already claimed that house in Antioch. And so we need to claim that house for them and trust God for the finances that will have to come forth before they can move from where they are, because this is a desperate situation.
I'd like you to pray for them.
Yeah.
They have
A week ago, they closed their apartment out last Friday, and left for Sacramento to spend a week up there. And they were coming here, and they ran out of funds and things to get here on. And he's going to have to go back and look. On finding a home for Twyla, I agree on that. There's one more important issue there than finding a home for Twyla and Jeff. And it's for Jeff to get back in where he belongs with the Lord and stay there.
Yeah.
Now he was just recently back walking with the Lord up around January, February, and then I don't know what happened after that. He
can't stay away from pot. He keeps getting
He's
back
got a
into
bad
pot.
habit with the pot, you know, and it burns his brain out, you know, fries his brain. So, you know, I don't care what you do about the Lord, you're nothing. And he's nothing about the Lord. He's a completely different person. He treats his family different. He treats everybody different when he's walking with the Lord. And that's the prayer I want for Jeff. The rest will all fall in line. God will take care of the rest for Jeff. But that's what he needs, is the Lord back with him.
Okay, let's pray.
Vietnam veterans from the Bay Area. Relax and enjoy as Highland Center for the Performing Arts presents I Love America.